first thing is to, in my opinion, is the linchpin for them to bother you in a court is the assessment. Okay, that's real important. Like think of you got a locomotive train, and it's pulling a chain of other box cars. Well, between the locomotive and the box cars, there's a hitch and there's a linchpin. You pull that linchpin out, and all the box cars get left behind. So the linchpin with a case with the IRS is the assessment. If they don't have an assessment, they can't move against you civilly or criminally, with only one exception that I know about, and that's obstruction. So if if they wanted to come into your business or your home and take your records, and you block the door, they could charge you with obstruction. But I've never heard of them doing that as a standalone charge. That's something they usually just add in. So the point is, if you're in trouble with the IRS, the first thing you want to do is find out who did the assessment against you and send them a letter. So that's the first thing. So you do that by a Freedom of Information Act request. So it's a one-sentence question. Who is the agent that did the assessment between years, whatever, 2010 to 2013? And so that now, if you can attack that, you're attacking that linchpin. And you get the letter out to that agent, and you ask the usual questions that we ask that expose that they didn't have any authority to do what they did. They can't verify the debt, and you do your letters, and now you're set up to do your claim. So people have asked me this many times, and I always try to, I hope I'm getting better at articulating it. That assessment is crucial. Knowing who signed that assessment is crucial. So let me approach it from another angle to make it clear. If you've got a levy on your paycheck, or you've got a lien on your house or your business, the levy or the lien came from an assessment. There can't be a levy or a lien without an assessment.
Well, there can't be a lien or a levy without a judgment either.
Well, that's true if we were dealing with honest people. I've got a $565,000 lien on me filed in 4 counties, and they never got any kind of judgment from anybody.
But like I said, if you hear what's going on in Texas, the state of Texas isn't putting up with that baloney anymore.
Right. See, that's great. And I think there's another state. I think it's Oklahoma. Hopefully,
well, what I'm saying, if Texas knows how to do it, this is what I'm trying to say, and Joe Average should be able to do it the same exact way. So,
right.
All you have to do is take it into it. And if somebody tries to put a lien or levy on you, I don't care who it is. All you have to do is say, you know what, I'll meet you up where, like, say they're putting a lien on you in, say, Douglas County. I don't even know if there is a Douglas County. Just say Douglas County. All you got to do is to go to the Douglas County District Court and say, somebody's got a lien on me through the county recorder's office here, I heard. Yeah. I require a hearing, or, it's like a trial. I require a hearing on this matter. I want this lien lifted off my property immediately.
Right.
And you have a right to a trial.
See, I agree with that, but let me just give you a different angle on it. And it's okay, so what you just did is you solved the civil side of them being able to enforce that, but what you didn't solve, and as we now know, in my case, is you didn't get rid of the underlying assessment. So what they'll do, even more likely, is retaliate and come after you criminally because you didn't get the assessment out.
They can't come after you. They can come after I, and all I have to do is separate the man from the person. And they say, right. Who are you coming after again? You're coming after you? No, you're not coming after you. You're coming after I. You're coming after a man. Wait a second. You can't do that.
Okay.
No, and I'm not going to give you guys the Supreme Court case in which you get cited from. If you guys don't believe me, go F off.
No,
but I'm telling you, man, there is a Supreme Court case that says that. So what I'm trying to say is because people say, well, okay, give me the citation. It's like, no, because you guys are going to go run down, get the citation, you're going to write exactly word for word what the United States Supreme Court said in this case. And that's an opinion. Right. So what? Right. And I got to get you guys to stop saying that. This running said, well, Bob said so, or Carl said so. So since Carl said it's got to be true, since the Supreme Court said it's got to be true, since Jesus Christ said it's got to be true. No, what do you believe is true?
Right.
And that's how you got to stand in court. Not because, well, Carl said so. That's why I did this. Oh, Jesus Christ said so. So this is why I'm doing it. It's like, oh, yeah, is Jesus here today? No. Well, then who gives an F? Is Carl here today? No. Then who gives an F?
Well, if you were going to go down that road and do it that way, then I would suggest augmenting it with doing a Freedom of Information Act request for what's called a proof of claim. The official IRS.
No,
so that way it's a one-page answer. I've done it several times. So what happens is you get back a single-page answer, and it says, and it will always say this, by the way. I've done quite a few of them. There is no proof of claim. That's what it says. So now when you walk into court with your case, like you just suggested, you've got something signed by the director in the IRS in blue ink, because they sign all the FOIAs in blue ink. So the judge is in a box. Or the magistrate.
Right. Well, it's not right. It's not even so much the judge or the magistrate's in the box. It doesn't matter because it's your court.
Right.
You're not surrendering it to them. You're just saying to them, look, this is I'm having a hearing on this matter. So, like I said, it's still your court, and you're the one who informs the judge or the magistrate and says, this is what I want you to bear witness to.
Right.
I don't want you to judge anything. I just want you to bear witness that this was true, and nobody came forth to rebut it. I don't need your opinion. I just need you to bear witness that and then because that's what Gus told me that you forgot to do when you created your own little court there. You forgot to create the order of the court.
Right.
So when you guys make the claim, you guys got to make the claim and you got to bring forth an order at the same time, not just a claim.
Well, the other huge.
If you don't bring forth the order, what are you ordering from them to do? Nothing. They just say, okay, you got a wonderful claim. Now what?
Well, we did put an order in. It was too late.
I'm trying to say that he told me you put it in the last second, but I'm trying to say to people got to understand they got to do both, and then not to do it in 2 seconds while they're standing outside of the courtroom.
Yeah.
I'm trying to show you there's two things. It's like you said, you say the county recorder, you discovered gold. I was like, okay, I made a claim that I discovered gold, so I don't want nobody to jump my claim. So you're creating an order at the same time. So you create the order, and I wish for nobody to trespass upon this claim.
Right.
You just make a simple claim. Yes, I found gold. Okay, great. Now, what do you want us to do with that? Well, I want you to file into the county recorder's office that I discovered gold and I don't wish anybody to trespass, and I'm going to work this field for 7 years, and after 7 years, anybody else can have at it.
Right. Yeah.
So you got to place a claim, and you got to place the order at the same time.
Honestly, I'm glad that things went the way they did, because if I won, I wouldn't have learned much. But because it went wrong, we did a forensic on it and figured out everything we did wrong or I did wrong, and I learned a lot from that. I mean, it was just a great education.
Yeah, it's like the one guy up there in Canada. I'm trying to remember the guy up there I think his name was Brian. Like he won in a Canadian court. He said like when he was like 20 years old. It's like, yeah, but it's easy to win by default. It's easy to win when the other side didn't show up. So if the Chinaman didn't show up against you, you would have said, oh boy, I won.
Right.
How do you know? The guy didn't show up.
Right.
So I can't tell if it's truly a win unless you really had your day in court and everybody was there. And
Right.
Like I said, I want to see from beginning to end. Everybody was there. Everything went from beginning to end. That's what I want to see, and see how the results are then.
I'm trying to remember if that's what you wanted me to answer on that IRS thing, but those are my two best learning lessons from 14 years of fighting them is do the FOIA to get the assessment, or in the example that you gave where, maybe you're strained.
I remember you went on and on for about an hour explaining, I don't remember, it was a monetary or something. You were talking about something beyond. It was really interesting.
Now I remember. So let me go back to that. That's an administrative approach that if you didn't know the common law and you weren't going to go down this path of filing a claim and getting your own lawsuit, there is a very powerful administrative process in their world. And so now I remember what you're talking about, so I'll explain that and I'll do it more briefly. What happened was in the mid-'90s, congressmen across the country were just getting thousands and thousands of letters about abuse. I remember watching it on CNN late at night.
That's what we're talking about.
Right. So they were flying these people, these victims, let's call them, in and interviewing them on the floor in Congress. And, I mean, it was horrendous stories, like people getting pulled over at the traffic lights and IRS agents surrounding them and pulling them through the window of the car and taking their wallet like a robbery, going into old age homes and taking wedding rings off of old ladies. I mean, it was just awful what these people were doing. So they, long story short, they held all these hearings. Then they began to put together a new law, and it was called the Internal Revenue Reform and Restructuring Act of 1998. Very significant. Also known as the Taxpayer Bill of Rights 3. I've read the whole thing many times. And the bottom line, you know, without going into all the detail, the outcome of it was there were certain remedies, and I've used these remedies for other people, and they worked very, very well. One guy got over a $500,000 lien that was on his personal account, his restaurant, and his wife's businesses, and got it removed in 10 days. So that was done by what's called a 911 form. You can Google that.
That's right. That's what we were talking about. Now I remember.
So a 911 form, now think about this law that they passed as a funnel, okay? And the output of that funnel is these remedies. So the 911 form is one remedy. The other remedy is they said no longer can an IRS agent or officer do things without the prior approval of the Tax Inspector General. So it was almost like the Congress said, okay, we're going to make the Tax Inspector General the internal police force of the IRS. And so without going into a long thing on that, it has to do with criminal prosecution, certain types of assessments. So you can do a Freedom of Information Act request and say, hey, I want to see the matching contract. That's what it's called. That gave this agent the authority from the Tax Inspector General to do this action. I've done numbers of them, and every single time it comes back, no authority was granted. So that's remedy number two. Now, backing up a little bit, with the 911 form, make sure you follow. It's actually pretty simple, but you can screw it up if you don't read the instructions. A key thing in there is that they have to be causing you some type of harm. It can be mental terror. It can be the possibility of loss of your job. It can be that it's got to be some kind of hardship. It can be strain in your marriage. It can be you're not going to, if their assessment or levy or lien or whatever they're going to do goes through, you're not going to be able to pay your bills. So you got to be sure when you fill that 911 form out that you articulate what the hardship is. Now, here's the interesting thing. You file that with the taxpayer advocate. Every state has one. And the taxpayer advocate has the authority to stop any and all functions of the IRS relative to that matter, even criminal prosecutions. Now, I haven't personally seen that happen on a criminal prosecution, but I definitely have seen levies come off. I've seen liens come off. I've seen the last guy that I helped when I showed him how to do it and we did it. They not only removed the liens off the property, which is, that's kind of a major exercise. They've got to go to the county and lift the lien. The guy was an aggressive, mean, nasty guy. I'm sure nobody's ever heard that before. All of a sudden, he was a lamb. He was nice and polite and trying to help this guy. So it is a powerful tool. Now, there's a third tool came out of all this. This is my personal favorite. It's called if you Google 1203B, 1203B, allegation referral form. So it's form number 12217. So I'm rusty on this. 12217. So 12217. That's the form number. But the title of the form is 1203B. Because it's named after the statute at large, that's Section 1203B. So if you Google 1203B allegation referral form, there's a number of items for reporting malicious or fraudulent conduct by IRS agents. And I was told by a certain person that I know that works there, I don't know if it's true or not, that when one of those is filed against them, they can't go any higher in their career. So it can be for violation of constitutional rights. It can be threats, false assessments. You'll see it. It's right on the form. So that's a pretty good form. What I learned to make it effective is you want to have your congressman mail it. What I told the last guy I helped with one is take it to your congressman and have him mail it on your behalf, and they will do that for you. And that seems to put a lot more teeth into it. But start with the 911 and then follow up with the 12217 allegation referral form. And there's information out on the internet about using those. My personal favorite is the lawsuit in a common law court. But anyway,
yeah, but still, I try to show people that there are other. It's not just like this common law stuff that I'm doing isn't just some crazy concept of mine. I said, in statutes, you can also find this very similar style that I use in statutes.
Right.
It's like you're saying you have to show that you're causing me harm, and I know the IRS would never want to ever cause anybody harm. I know you lovely IRS. All you want to do is help people.
Well, you just raised a really good point because you caught it right away, but I bet a lot of people listening didn't quite catch it. These are actually common law remedies. Yeah, they're precipitous of statutes, but think about what I just said. The 911 form is if they're causing you a hardship. Man cannot cause another man a hardship.
Right, and certainly his creation certainly cannot. The creation of another man can certainly not cause harm to another man.
So, what you're saying is it reinforces what you've been talking about.
Right. I just keep it super simple. But like I said, you could say they also keep it very simple, but they want to do billable hours, so they're going to make it 10,000 pages long.
Right.
But in essence, it comes down to the same thing.
Right.
That's what we always tell people. You could go statutes and you could go around the world, or you could just take one step backwards and do common law and you're done.
Well, let me just add two things that are real important. On the 911 form, you have to file that with a taxpayer advocate. And believe me, if you send it to the wrong person, they will not tell you. They won't send it back to you and say, oh, geez, let me make sure you get this done right. No, they'll just stay silent on it. So you've got to put that through the taxpayer advocate. The 12217 allegation referral form, that's a really touchy thing because you're reporting an agent who's doing something bordering on criminal, if not actually criminal. It's a very serious thing to file one of those. You got to file that with what's called the Commissioner's Complaint Department. It's a special office that was set up specifically for that form by statute. And you'll see that, when you get the form. But a lot of people, when they do them, like most people do things, kind of they're frightened or they're desperate and they don't stop and think and take their time to do it right. They'll send it to the IRS commissioner or the chief counsel or somebody else. If it doesn't land in that department, I'm telling you right now, I've seen it over a dozen times, they will not come back to you and say, oh, no, you need to send it over here. So you got to make sure, you got to take responsibility that you're sending it to the right person.
Right.
And another great remedy, geez, let me forget to say this, is when you do those forms, you should CC them to J. Russell George. He's the Inspector General, the Tax Inspector General of the Tax Administration. His job, what he's paid for, is to watch over improper actions of IRS employees. That's what he's supposed to do.
Yeah.
So you're getting him on the hook, and he's going to be sensitive to that now because he's been called into congressional hearings. I'm sure everybody knows what's been going on in the news for over 2 years now with Lois Lerner and all that stuff. So he's not going to want to ignore your stuff. 2 years ago he probably would have, but I don't think he would now.
Well, we won't say that.
Yeah, that's just an opinion.
Yeah, that's just an opinion.
I believe.
I'm sure he can.
But probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 85% of the time, those remedies are going to work for you.
Yeah.
Every now and then you're going to... Go ahead.
All I'm just trying to tell people is that's why I said I'm not going to give you guys the United States Supreme Court case where you got to separate the man from the person. I'm not going to bother. Because, like I said, then everybody starts studying all these ridiculous cases again. And then they're going to say, oh, no, and the IRS, the Supreme Court overturned it in 2011. They said, da-da-da-da-da. It's like, oh, no. I said, look, I'm just trying to show you people that, a lot of the stuff that I do is they do it as well in statute. But it just, like I said, it's billable hours. I was underneath a car. It's just billable hours, and it's they're going to make a 20-volume series over this stuff, get thousands of people employed, and put a big centralized government in place to make sure all the the T's are crossing, the I's are dotted, just to make it seem like it's more plausible if you got this huge organization behind it, other than just one guy saying, "Look, just separate the man from the person. That's all you have to do."
Right.
And you'd be like, well, that's too easy. It's like, yeah, that's right. Well, there's got to be more to it, Carl. No, it's not. Because you look at all the Supreme Court decisions all the times, it's usually just a one-sentence conclusion, one-sentence answer why they either, in their opinion, ruled in favor or ruled against the moving party. It's usually just one little simple thing, but then they go on and on and on and on with all their freaking opinions of why.
Right.
It's because it's that thing. I'm trying to remember one of the most famous cases ever in the United States history was, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head right now. It was a slave that was in a free state that was brought back to a slave state, but there was in the contract between him and the original owner. Oh, man, somebody's got to know this case. Off the top of the head, black civil rights folks know this case like the back of their hand. And then when he died, his sister didn't honor the contract. She was from Massachusetts, and the Supreme Court ruled against the man. Oh, I wish I could remember what the name of the case is. As soon as somebody says it, I'm going to say, that's the case. But, like I said, I was just upside down under the dashboard of my car, man. So I'm a little lightheaded. It's pretty funny. But the opinion was the longest opinion. That's what anybody Googled. What was the longest opinion from the United States Supreme Court? And it was that case.
Oh, I'd like to do that.
Yeah, but what's funny is it said... The very first sentence was all you had to read is that the court lacks jurisdiction to hear the matter. That was it. The court lacks jurisdiction to hear this case.
Wow.
And then they went on and on and on and on. It was with the longest opinion in history of the United States Supreme Court. And that's what I try to tell you guys. Is usually, if you want to know the opinion of the ruling is one sentence long. Now, if you want to hear every one of the 9 judges or however many judges they had back then, 13 judges, whatever they had, you could go on and on forever with listening to the opinions if you want to.
Right.
But it just clearly said that this court does not have jurisdiction over this matter. What it was is why they didn't have jurisdiction over the matter is because the man was considered property, and the court doesn't have this. The court doesn't have the capacity to tell another man what he can and cannot do with his property. So as far as the court was concerned, that black man was in a slave state, and the daughter, the sister, inherited the black man. So as far as they were concerned, it's property. But if you want to hear the most ridiculous, beat around the bush, go around the answer, go around the direct answer, they wouldn't just say property. They wouldn't use the word property. The courts have this huge aversion, this huge fear of using the word property in any of their rulings, because they know if you guys figure out what the word property means, they basically don't have a job. There's basically nothing left for them to do.
Carl,
so let me discuss real quick, man, what was that Supreme Court case? Hey, Gus, what was that? Gus, what was that famous Supreme Court case, very famous civil rights Supreme Court case back in, 1863?
Supreme Court case?
Yeah, back in 1863.
About what?
It was just the most famous case, the most longest written opinion ever in United States history. It's the most famous.
Versus Georgia?
No, that's from 1802. No, so like I said, if you go civil rights, just Google civil rights, United States Supreme Court case 1863. It'll pop it up in 2 seconds for me. But that's funny. I was asking Gus to find that out for me. I figured, as soon as you tell me, man, as soon as somebody tells me, man, that's my buddy starting up this little motorcycle here. Hang on there.
I should mute myself out. I'll mute myself out for 2 seconds here.
You there, Bali?
Yeah, I'm still there. I'm just muted out.
There's one more thing. I actually saved the best for last, but I want to wait till Karl.
Yeah, just wait for him to come back.
Well, can I ask you a quick question while we're waiting?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, I've got this other item I want that's going to answer his question that he asked me, but we'll save that for when he's back on. It's how you can get $1 million settlement from the IRS, or at the very least $100,000. But my question, which is unrelated, is, you know how Karl says, like, if you're doing a return for property claim, like, you know, if your child's taken, or your son or your daughter's taken away from you, and you put an exhibit with your claim that's just a picture.
Yep.
Well, how do you do that when the property that was taken from you is, say, your reputation? You know, let's say the state or the United States files a complaint against you, or in your case, the Queen's Bench, and then you go down in your county courthouse, you file a claim, and you say, see Exhibit A, which is their complaint, and then see Exhibit B, which is my property that was taken. How would you do that when it's a type of property that's intangible, like your reputation or your innocence?
I'd probably put that in writing in some form of affidavit.
In the form of an affidavit.
Yeah, and if there's somebody else that can witness that as well, or somebody else who, you know, to say, yeah, you know what, he was okay up until this, and then after this stink started to be around him, then some of his clients, some of his people left him.
Okay, that's good.
Like that. Or also, if it's a business, it may have a physical hallmark. So if you were doing, I don't know, $1,000 a week, ever since these guys have been sniffing around, I've only been doing $200 a week.
Okay.
I look at the time spans. This is what happened. This is when they started, and it may have a hallmark somewhere. But the other thing is, like you say, is if you're just going for like a reputation in I suppose a very broad method, then you're going to struggle to find evidence for that. But affidavit or other supporting affidavits to be filed with it will probably be easier.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good idea. So you take for example somebody who gets pulled over and he's got, I don't know, some marijuana in his glove compartment. He gets arrested, and that goes into the newspaper. You know, so now this guy, his reputation is hurt. So yeah, they took maybe his dignity, maybe his marriage, maybe his wife moved out on him. You know, he's not getting kisses anymore. Seems like you ought to be able to put that in. If you can put other things as an exhibit of your property, you should be able to put those intangibles as an exhibit of your property.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was the Scott Sanford case. It was Dred Scott case.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
There was no master's property can be interfered with or ruled upon or made any decision on what a master could do with his property. It's very simple ruling. So it's funny. It's like that's why I call them my children, my damn property. And that's it. There's no ruling. It's never been overturned. That a master can't be told what he can and cannot do with his property. I'm the master of that child. That is my property. It's not a child. It's property. Don't you worry what I define them. Don't worry what I call them. Well, we call them child. Well, I'm not we. I'm the master. I'm the creator. I call it property. Don't you worry what I call it. It's property. Believe me. Trust me. It's mine. Is it yours? No. Then back off. Well, we have a consensus here about our agency and our groups and our panels. It said, F your agency, F your consensus, F your learned studies and panels. It's not an effing child. It's my property. So see, cases like that, man, like I said, it's a two-sentence, it's like a ruling, but it's the longest, like, ruling in United States history, the longest opinion. And it's ridiculous. All they have to say is, we got no right to tell a man what he can and cannot claim is his. If it's his property, there's nothing we can do about it. Next case. But no, they had to make it the longest opinion in the United States. That's the case that started the Civil War.
Right.
Some people were trying to be like these greeny-weeny tree huggers and say, oh, no, you know, a man has no right to property, like Karl Marx people. Karl Marx was popping up right around that time, too, you know, saying that the first thing that, you know, the state has to abolish is man's rights to property. That way man can't own slaves. Well, that's a little extreme, saying that nobody can own property. You know, just say, hey, how about we just all agree that no man can own another man? How about we start with that? Because that kind of makes sense. You know, that kind of sounds silly, that no God can own another God. That kind of makes sense, that one can't own one. It's got to be something subordinate, something lower. It can't be something that's equal. So that's what it was the Scott Sanford case, and I couldn't remember it. You know, the Scott Sanford case or Dred Scott. You know, like I said, I couldn't remember. I'm upside down and under. He took photos of me, a video of me on May 13th. May 3rd. You call Lentz May 3rd, whatever, on YouTube, on May 13th, you'll see me working on a car, doing one of these shows. So right now I couldn't talk because I was upside down, so it's kind of hard to talk upside down. I'm a pretty big guy, so talk while I'm upside down is almost impossible.
Karl, I got one more mega remedy to talk about, but if you want me to.
Yeah, okay, Gus. Yeah, go ahead. Gus is here too. You're talking to me and Gus. I'm going to go back under, but Gus and I are right here, so.
Well, before I did that, I just want to ask you one quick question. I was asking Barley this while you were away. You know how you say, for example, when somebody wants return of their son or daughter in a claim, and you just put a picture of that person? I don't say son or daughter. I just say property. Property, okay.
I don't say son or daughter. That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I have no effing clue what a son is. I got no effing clue what a daughter is, but I know what my property is.
So how do you do that?
And that's what you have to do. You have to start learning to say, I have no effing clue what the word son means. I have no idea what daughter means. But what words, very limited words in my vocabulary is that's my property. Give it back. Back off my property. No trespass on property. That I know. That's my whole vocabulary. That's all I know.
Okay.
And you just keep repeating it over and over and over.
How do you do that for an intangible, like your reputation? Let's say, you know, something.
You're going to have to prove it. You're going to have to prove it.
Okay.
You're going to have to bring some third-party impartial witness forward and say, you know, I didn't give him a job because I was led to believe he was a crook because of what that man over there said.
Okay.
You know, it's still going to have to be a third-party impartial witness. It's going to have to be flesh and blood. It ain't going to be some spreadsheet. That ain't going to prove anything. They ain't going to say, well, look how my business plummeted. Maybe. That's speculation. That's circumstantial. You still need the voice of man.
Okay.
For anything.
So you want me to mention that other remedy?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, man. I'm back under the car again, man. I'm going to be upside down in about 2 seconds.
Okay, the other remedy is found under 20 USC 7433. You know, again, this is in the statutory world, in their world, but this was also came out of IRS abuse. Congress passed this law that said if you can show that they did it willfully, which you can easily establish, you know, if you write them letters saying, hey, why'd you do this to me, and they don't answer you, that's it. You've got them for willful. The remedy, the amount they have to pay you is $1 million. If it was by negligence, so they levied your pay and you were the wrong person, which does happen. I have a friend right now who has a monstrous lien on her, and it's because her name is the same as another person's name, and her Social Security number is 1 digit off, and they won't remove it. So that's kind of in a gray area. But that's $100,000.
Oh no, that's not the lady with the 401k, is it?
I don't know what the type of account is, but
Yeah, it's the 401k lady down there in Oklahoma, Texas area, whatever.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like I said, I told people you're all complete morons if you ever invested in a 401k because you know who controls it, right?
Well, even worse, they can pull it anytime they want.
Of course they can because it's theirs. It's not
Right.
yours. You voluntarily gave them the money to do whatever they wish to do with it.
Exactly.
You never put the terms and conditions on it.
Yeah.
You never said, hey, when I retire, I expect this all back. You do know that. No, you just assumed it, which means you bear all the liability when you assume something. Why don't you put it in writing? Like I said, this is what I always told all my friends back in the 80s and 90s. Everybody's trying to say, oh, man, the investment 401k is such a great deal. Oh, I got a 401k. I got this 401k. I said, you're out of your effing minds. You understand the IRS is in total control of that. You do know that, right? You do know you're just basically investing your money with the IRS. You do know that. And they're like, no, it's going into some retirement fund. I said, okay, under what title section can I find the 401, subsection K? Where can I find that? What title section? What title section? What title section is the IRS under?
Yeah, no, it's true.
Well, no, what title section, so other people know.
Oh, what title section? You mean the creation of the IRS?
No, the title section. Like section 5, section 16, section 26, what section?
That created the IRS?
Yeah, what title section can the people find in the United States, I'm asking you, because this is all you do.
Bro, nada. There isn't any.
Okay, but there is a title code section. What title code section is the IRS?
Well, the title where their codes are is Title 26.
Right. So this is what I'm trying to say. If people want to find out where you can find your 401k section, it's under Title 26.
Right.
So you go to Title 26, Section 401, subsection K. You'll find out where your 401ks are under the control of the Internal Revenue Service.
Yeah.
And I told people that. I said, are you people out of your mind? You're basically just giving the IRS your money and saying, look, I hope that you give it back to me when I'm 65, 70 years old. They're like, didn't you people even ask where your money goes and who's in control of this 401k? No, they never ask. People just don't care. It's because their friends tell them, oh, this is a great plan. Oh, this is a great deal. Oh, really? And then whatever the IRS says for any reason that you forgot to cross the T and dot the I back in 1993, so we're going to keep your 401k plan because of all the interest, taxes, and penalties that's accumulated since 1993, has come out to $1.7 million. And honestly, not only are we going to keep your 401k, we're going to lien your house and everything else until we get the rest of the remainder of the 1.7. It was such a scam, it wasn't even funny.
Well, to corroborate what you just said, last year in Spain, I read they dipped into every single person's retirement plan and savings accounts and took out 6%. That's great. Yeah, because it was early last year because they were having financial problems. I'm pretty much everything.
That's right. That's great. I love it.
If they can take 6%, they can take 60.
That's right. They can take 99.6. They can take it all. And they could come up with some crazy bullshit, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And everybody just laughs at you. And you run around, like you said, there's this lady, she's running around trying to say, but wait. And nobody cares, lady. As long as it ain't happening to them, they don't care what's happening to you.
Right.
And she's screaming, this is so unfair. It's like, okay, then why in all that's holy did you not it's just stick the money under your pillow and just, and just be happy. It's like, well, they told me, I wasn't going to get any, interest on the money. It's like, look, okay, before you hand somebody your money, it's like, okay, why don't you just hand me all your money, and I'll tell you in 40 years I'll give it back to you. Would you do it? You'd say, F no. Yeah. That's like, okay, so then you're putting into a 401k plan. Who's in control of that? It's like, well, I don't know. Well, but you're still just going to let a complete stranger hold all your money.
Like, I think some companies mandate it, though, Karl. Like, if you're working for a big corporation, I think...
Hold on. No, it's all voluntary.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's always been voluntary. They can't order you to invest in 401k. They try to convince you that it's the best thing since sliced white bread. You know, like, we'll match your funds. We'll do fund for fund, dollar for dollar.
Right. Yeah. That's
right.
That's,
right. So the company would say, what do you got? Believe me, I've had tons of companies ask me to join their 401. And I told them they're out of their effing minds. And it's like, oh, but look, we'll match you dollar for dollar. I don't give a F. They were like, well, how could you possibly lose? I said, it's run by the IRS. What do you mean, how could I possibly lose? I'm sure when I was 12 years old, I forgot to cross the T or dot the I somewhere, and they're going to hold it in interest and penalties and fees. It's going to be a couple of $1 billion I'm going to owe by the time I'm 65. Then I'm never going to see that money. What are you, out of your mind?
I'm thinking back 20 years ago when they offered that. I've been out of corporate America for 25 years, but when they offered it, I can remember I used to tell people, you know, they can take that anytime they want, and people would say, they're not going to do that.
Yeah,
I must have heard that phrase 100. They're not going to do that.
Well, they wouldn't do that to me. Maybe you, because you're dishonest.
Yeah.
But me, I'm a good person. They would never do that to me.
Yeah, right.
And he just laugh. He just smile. You go, okay, you'll see. So that's great that they did that to Spain, 6% across the board. The little old ladies, good, bad people, everybody.
Yep.
Oh, well.
Everybody.
All the good people they did it to. Oh, my goodness gracious, I can't believe they would do such a deed. Oh, that's so horrible. Yeah. What do you think they were going to do? Actually give it back to you with interest? Oh, you're too funny. And you believe them.
See, now, I think this is an example of where I think her approach should be. And I wonder what you think, is to get that assessment that served as the basis for that lien, and then go the claim, do her letters, and then do her claim.
Yeah. You mean the lady with the 401k?
Yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, the only thing bad about it is what happens when you surrender something unconditionally.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read the wording, but I think the magic.
They own your ass. They own your ass. Ask Japan what happened after the war. Unconditional surrender. Ask them what that means. Read that treaty. That's a lot of fun. Where it basically says, well, not basically says, it like literally says, we own your dogs, your cows, your chickens, your sheep. I mean, it's so funny. There was nothing like the United States government left out. Like, don't think for a second that we're just taking over your government. No, we're taking over everything. Your cows, your chickens, your dogs, your cats. We're taking every effing thing.
Yeah.
So that was funny. That's unconditional. We mean everything. We're taking everything. Not just your tanks and your planes. We're taking every effing thing. The only reason why you're going to be allowed to exist is by our blessings and our good graces. That's the only reason why you're going to exist on planet Earth. So like I said, when you unconditionally surrender your property, you better make sure you know who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And everybody just goes nilly-willy and saying, I trust my company. They'll be there for 30, 40, 50 years. Oh, my company would never do that to me. They're good people that I work for. Like General Motors, They said, as goes General Motors, as goes the nation. That was the slogan when I was growing up. And then when all these little old ladies were getting ready to retire and start taking all their money out of General Motors stock, all of a sudden General Motors closed up, their stock collapsed. And then the little old ladies, stocks were worthless. Then they just issued new stocks like the following day. And all the ladies that invested trillions of dollars into GM stocks and all the union members who thought they were going to get, their union benefits from GM, they were all told, nope, GM restructured, sorry. It's like, wait a second, GM just closed the business for 13 seconds. What do you mean none of our benefits are going to be recognized? It's like, no, they restructured. They're sorry. And you just got to laugh. It's like, you mean you worked for them for 40 years and you expected something? Well, yeah. Well, what did you wind up getting? Nothing. Well, how are you going to sue them? We can't, we were told. That's right, you can't. Oh, well, next time you better know you're dealing with the devil, you better get it in writing.
Yeah.
And you kind of feel bad for people. You kind of feel bad for people because, like I said, they always nail people after they, when they're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. They don't nail you when you're 20.
Right. That's what they're doing. Well, because the account's so much bigger when you're older.
That's right. They're not stupid. They're not going to come and get you when you're a kid. They're going to nail you when you're worth something. So you wasted not wasted. Well, you kind of did waste your whole life just building up this what you thought was a nest egg, so they could just come and take it in 10 seconds. And there's nothing you could do about it. And they all just laugh at you. They stand there and they laugh.
Do you think she'd have a remedy if she was to do a lawsuit and?
I don't know, man. I mean, how is she going to stylize it? What did they do wrong? What did the IRS do wrong?
Well, I realize I've never read a 401k contract, but who's going to come in and take the witness stand and say X, Y, Z is true? I know that you don't argue this, but the simple truth is that Internal Revenue Reform and Restructuring Act I mentioned earlier in 1998, it eliminated the office of district director. District director is the only person who can do an assessment. There is nobody else who can do an assessment.
Yeah.
The language
but who said they did an assessment?
Well, there has to be. They can't do a lien or a levy.
They just took the 401k from her and they made up whatever reason they wanted to. They don't even have to give a reason. Let's put it that way, man. If you totally unconditionally surrender something and you complain about it 2 or 3 days later, I don't have to give you a reason why I took it. You signed the paper when you got into this 401k 35 years ago. You go read it. You go figure out how this happens. That's what I say to people all the time, man. Most bosses are stupid if they give you a reason why they fired you. If I fired you, say, get the hell out of my building. Why? Because it's my building and it ain't yours. Get out of here. Well, why are you firing me? Get the hell out of my building. I don't know how to make it any simpler to you. Get the hell out of my building. Well, I want to know why I'm fired. Too bad. I give you 10 more seconds to get the hell out of my building. I'll have you escorted out of my building. I ain't telling you a reason. Because as soon as somebody gives a reason why they were fired by their boss, the next thing you know is a lawsuit is coming. So if anybody has employees and you don't want to be sued, just do what I just told you to do. Don't give them a damn reason. Just throw them out the damn building.
So she has to read that contract to see what she signed.
I don't. Like I said, I have no idea. Like I said, I could not care less about. When I was a kid, I knew it was a con job.
Yeah.
It's just investing in any kind of mutual funds or anything like that. It's a con job. These guys are billionaires driving around in billion-dollar cars and not doing anything for a living. This money's coming from somewhere, and when the fund collapses, then what? Who's held liable? Nobody, because you know what? It's called gambling. You gambled that you were trusting this other party, this other person, to do the right thing, and it didn't pay off like you thought it would. I guess it's called like a Ponzi scheme. And I guess I got burned. I guess I should have got out earlier. Now the money's tightening up, and they're going to start burning everybody like crazy.
Right.
It's like, oh, well. It's like, you just totally trusted these retirement funds and these retirement agencies and these government agencies. You just totally trusted them. And how's that working out for you? And I try to keep from laughing at poor people who do that. It's like, look, you people didn't want to listen to me back in 1980. You didn't want to listen to me, Now that it's happening, now you're like, oh, my God, we were so stupid. It's like, no, you were just, bullshitted, and you were just bedazzled into believing that what they were saying was true because they had a three-piece suit and tie, they looked pretty, or they sounded smooth, or they were con artists. Don't worry about it. It's been going on since time began. Believe me, I'm sure con men existed during caveman time.
So what would be the most practical approach for her to take using the common law?
I guess you'd have to try to find the man or the woman who actually is in charge and say, what gave you the right to take my property? And start with that. But they're going to say, look at the form you filed in 1987. In 1986, when you first started with this 401, that says at any time we will, and anytime we wish. Like nobody ever reads these stupid terms and agreements of the contracts.
Right.
I mean, it's a shame. I mean, can you imagine all these little ladies who call me up and say, "Oh, General Motors collapsed overnight. Oh, the union people call me up. Oh, no, we're not getting any union benefits. What should we do?" I guess go work for Ford. What can you do? You got conned. You know, and they'll say everything was totally above the board. We always did everything in writing. We always gave you full disclosure. You did not have to put your money in here. Nobody put a gun to your head and told you. You had to do this. This is what you wish to do. It's like I always tell people all the time, man, you make a deal with the devil, you sign a contract with the devil, now it's payback time. Now it's time to pay your dues. The devil is dues. And you wind up in hell, and you're like, holy cow, how did I get here? Like, didn't you read the fine print? Oh, no. Well, how about you got the rest of eternity to read it? Why don't you read it now? Holy crap, did I sign that? Yeah, you did. I guess I was young and impetuous and stupid, but you know what I'm saying? That ain't his problem. You know, your mommy and daddy didn't teach you. You better read everything before you sign it. Like I said, my dad told me a million times, thank God he couldn't read or write English. He said an honest man would never be ever told to sign anything by another man. And an honest man could go his whole entire life without ever signing a document. If you sign a document once, okay. You sign it twice, you signed 2 times too many already. And everybody runs around planet Earth now signing their names away like it's a monopoly money. You guys are just throwing your names around, signing every damn thing they throw in front of you. And people aren't stopping and saying, look, all I got is my good name and my word. My word and my good name is all I own. It's all I possess. And you guys are throwing your name around like crazy. The cop always says, give me your name. They say, well, give me your name. They'll say, well, no. Well, then why should I give you mine? Are you going to give me yours? No. Why? Well, he's like, I don't know what you're going to do with it. Well, I don't know what you're going to do with mine.
Yeah, they got hurt good.
They're trained. They're taught better than to be willy-nilly with giving out their names. They're not stupid. They know their name is very important and very valuable, and somebody could take their name and use it to their disadvantage. So why should I just give my name willy-nilly to everybody? That wouldn't make any sense. If they're not doing it, somebody taught them correctly. Their supervisor taught them correctly. Their daddy taught them correctly.
Yeah, they got her good. I feel bad for her. That was her only asset in the world.
Oh, well, that's what she thought was her assets. But like I said, I mean, it might sound like, oh, cold, man, you're so cold. You know, it's like, okay, you gambled and you lost. It's like people telling me they went to Las Vegas and they gambled everything. How could I sue the casino? It's like, what do you mean, how can you sue the casino? Well, it was very deceptive what they did. They put this funny carpeting on the floor. They put all these neon lights. They put half-naked women in front of me. They kept giving me booze all night. How do I sue the casinos? I say, you're kidding me, right? Well, no, it was very deceptive what they did. That was very unfair. They tricked me when I was very vulnerable. Okay. And? What would you like me to do? Show me how to sue the casino and get my money back. And for everybody who ever lost their money in these casinos. Because they're doing all these psychological profiles on us, and they're scanning us when we walk in, and the lights are very dim, and there's no clocks on the walls, and you can't see windows, and it's very confusing, and the next thing you know, we lose everything we got. Oh, really? And you're telling me this hasn't been done since caveman time? And somebody put a gun to your head and told you to do it? It's a lot of fun. I mean, it's a lot of fun dealing with human beings. Because nobody wants to take liability for their own actions. Nobody wants to do it.
Right.
And people say, Carl, man, you're so cold. Like, Carl, you're so cold. It's like, no, I'm just telling you as it is. I'm sure you could call up a Rush Limbaugh guy or a Michael Savage or something like that, and he'll say, "Oh yeah, those Jew bastards, man, they run Wall Street, and those bastards, man, they always trick us. Oh, they've been pulling these scams for 5,000 years. Oh yeah, those dirty bastards." No, if you want to play that game, you better be a master at it or stay away. You want to deal with the devil, you better be a master at it, or you better stay away. You guys jump in with both feet all the time, man, and you feel bad for people like that. You're like, holy jeez, you guys didn't fall for this again, did you? Not again. Well, it's a whole new generation. We got these people, too. Didn't you do that during the Great Depression? Yeah, didn't you con hold? How did the people fall for this again? How did you guys do that during the Great Dust Bowl down there? How did you get the people all the mortgage everything up to the hilt and take their farms and homes? How did you do that? Well, 60 years passed and we did it again. And we're going to do it again in 60 years and we're going to do it again. And we're going to keep on doing it. A new generation is going to come and they're going to forget. There's going to be commercials on TV again in, 30, 40 years that's going to say, oh, I bought 3 houses, no money down. This is so easy. Anybody could do it. It's the same scam, man. They're just going to do it again to us and our kids and our kids' kids. It's just a con game. It just keeps to, they've been, I'm sure I could have been doing this radio show in 1670 and say, hey, how did they con us with all these tulip bulbs? How did we ever fall for this? It's like, well, they do it to us all the time. Why? Because we're human beings, and they know the nature of the beast. Like monkeys, they know how we're going to react. They're not stupid. They have actuaries that actually just sit around and calculate and figure out the odds, the percentages. When can we pull this off again? It's a lot of fun. So, like I said, what could that lady actually do to try to get her 401k back? Honestly, I can't see anything on the common law side. I mean, she's going to have to go through their, through their way. I really can't see anything in common law when you're talking about surrendering something to the IRS. If you surrendered something, like you made a deal with the devil, how are you going to withdraw the contract?
But do you think they would actually show up in court with that contract and defend themselves with it? Yeah,
in their administrative court, they sure will.
But how about
if you go in front of a jury, they sure will. The jury will throw you under the jury will hang you faster than anybody will hang you. But might be in front of a guy with a black robe, and if a guy with a black robe knows that corporations can't do anything that cause harm to man, that's fine.
That's what I was thinking. Is if she went in there and did a claim against let's say the agent that put the actual levy on her 401k. Now that's actually
the actual man who's an agent.
Right, the man.
They don't go to the agent. They go to the man who acted as the agent.
So she brings that man in who acted as the agent.
But that man basically, if I was that man, I'd just say, sir, look, I say to the court, I said, honestly, I'm just following policy. This is the policy in which she subscribed. This is the policy in which she put her blood-stained hand footprint oath upon. This is what she said that she was going to do, and this is what we said we were going to do. We are not in breach of contract. We are following it to the letter of the law. She signed a contract. And this is what I try to say. You guys try to find a billion freaking excuses. Did you sign a piece of paper more than once in your life? Yes, then it's all your fault. But you don't want to go kick your daddy in the ass for not teaching you. You better not sign more than one piece of paper in your lifetime, because one time was bad enough. So if your daddy didn't teach you that, you say, why am I signing this again? Really? Do I know how to get out of it? Okay, what is this going to control or not control me? How is it going to control me? Okay. It's like I tell people the whole time who get busted for transporting pot or something like that. I say to them all the time, it's like, how many times have you transported pot? And it's like, I don't know, thousands. And you've been lucky, for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? Yeah. What did you think was going to happen when you got caught? Well, I figured I was going to. And how did you figure you were going to get out of jail? And how did you figure how you were going to move the court? Well, that I never figured out. I figured that once I got caught, I guess I'd have to get a lawyer or I could just go to jail. Really, why didn't you figure out the game all the way to the end before you started playing? Why? Why did you just jump in and only know 3/4 of the game? I buy the pot, transport the pot, sell it to somebody else, I get my money, and I go home. Okay, that's 3/4 of the game. The next quarter is, okay, one time I get stopped by a cop, I get arrested, I get arraigned, and now what do I do during arraignment? What do I do for the trial? What do I do when I get in front of the judge? What do I do if I get in front of a jury? Now what do I do? How come you didn't figure the rest out? How old are you again? 12? How old are you again? 30, 40, 50, 60. How old are you? And you didn't figure the game out to the end. And where and since you had an IRA, when did you not have enough time to just sit down and read the damn contract? Why didn't you bother to read it? Why did you bother to put in stipulations to say, whoa, 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 do you see what clause number G, do you see what G says on this thing? Do you see what this reads? Holy crap. Oh, no, I'm going to go back and modify this, or I'm going to take all my money out. I mean effing now. No. Nobody bothers reading the terms and conditions of the contract until it's too late.
Kyle, if the contract references the Internal Revenue Code to empower this man that acted as an agent to do a lien, and the Internal Revenue Code itself says that the person who's authorized to do that doesn't exist anymore under their own code, wouldn't that debunk their argument, their position?
It depends. If it's your court or their court, under their court, any rule goes, anything goes. They could just do it by, they could just, it's just like, what do they call that? It's the nature of the, what do they call that when it's just a, when a judge just says, you know what, I'm going to allow that to be entered. I'm trying to remember what that says. I'm trying to think of the actual technical term.
Prima facie?
Yeah, basically, that it's basically, on its face, or this has been the custom, and this is the way it's been for so long, and this is the way everybody's known it to act and how to be. So we're going to we're just going to hold it, we're going to maintain the position that it's always held. We're not going to, create new, precedent. We're just going to maintain status quo here. That's the judge's main job. That's all the guy in the black robe's main job is to maintain status quo. He is not really supposed to get in there and interpret any damn thing. If this is the way the contract reads, and this is the way all the parties have been acting, and this is the way, 99% of the people who have the similar contract and similar agreements, if this is how they act, the number one job, you could probably Google that. The number one job of the judge is to maintain status quo. Leave everything right the hell the way it is. Not to make precedent, not to create new case law, to just maintain the position as the positions have been held for eternity.
But if she does her own lawsuit, what man is going to come in as an agent and say, there is a code that allowed me to do this when there isn't one?
Well, I'm saying whether there is a code, she's not going. If she has her own lawsuit, obviously she's not going to be able to rely on any code because she's not a code decipherer. She can't put code into her suit. It's not her property. It's all trademark, registered, copyrighted. She can't use code in her lawsuit.
I realize she can't, but would the man who comes in as the agent that took the money?
Well, what's the agent going to be? What all he's got to do is say to the court, read the contract that she signed. Did she make her person liable for her acts as the woman? Yes. Okay, see this? I'm saying you guys are always trying to figure out a loophole how to get out of your liability, your responsibility. You're always trying to figure out the cheat. You're always trying to figure out the way out. And this is going to be a great. This is what I'm saying. Maybe this baby boom generation. Maybe this is going to be the last stupid fucking generation on planet Earth. Hopefully, maybe people from now on, younger people, listen to people like me and say, "You got to read every damn thing and don't sign any damn thing." And if you read it, modify it. Modify it to the terms and conditions which you wish to live under. Like I said, I started a satellite installation company with my buddy down in Georgia. And what was funny is I just decided to work out in the field. I can't stand working in an office, but he's got a nerve problem. He got hit in the head with a box, and he's got like a spinal problem. He fell off a couple of roofs. Well, this is another company before he worked. He's like, he tried an ice cream parlor. And I was like, come on, So he started a satellite company instead. And so I was the outside guy, and he was the inside guy. And after 3 or 4 years working together, he had an accountant who said, all the employees here have to sign contracts with the corporation, with the new corporation that they started together. And so I was explaining how wonderful it is to be a corporation, how the IRS will work with you, how you get credit cards, how you can lease everything, drive new vehicles, buy brand new homes, and use it as an office expense. I said he was loving it. He went from being like dirt poor, living with his mama, to living in a beautiful house, driving, palatial cars and trucks. I mean, best tools on planet Earth. He was loving life, dealing with the IRS. You can. It can be of a great benefit if you know how to play the game. So it was funny as he had me. I said, "You are not asking me to sign a contract, are you?" He's like, "Well, everybody." The attorney said, "We got an attorney for the company now." He says, "Everybody's got to, so nobody could sue the company." I said, "Oh, really?" So when I went home, I took the contract, and I said, you really don't want me to do this? He said, yes, you do. Well, I do. So I took the contract, brought it home, cut, copied, and pasted, changed all the modified everything. It says, if I no longer work here, no longer happy here, this company is to pay me $5 million, within 14 days, da-da-da. I changed it all. So I brought back this 7-page ridiculous contract, but it was mine. I brought back 2 copies. And I said, now you sign one and give it to me, and you keep one. He says, oh, boy. He says, never in my wildest dreams did I think I would ever see you sign a contract. And I said, well, I did. He says, well, I never thought that day would come. And he was laughing his ass off. He's like, after all you say about signing your name and contracts, I said, hey, don't worry about it, buddy. It makes you feel happy and your attorney happy now, right? He says, well, absolutely. He's going to be amazed. I said, that's right. He'll be amazed. And I said to myself, wait until the day you try to fire me or I decide to quit. I'll own this effing company because you have no idea what you just signed. So like I said, believe me, when somebody hands me a contract, I read every damn thing. If I know how to play the game, if somebody says, here's a driver's license, sign it, or here's a passport, sign it, I know how to play every damn angle, how to get in and out of that damn piece of paper. I'm not just going to sign it willy-nilly and just say, gee, I guess when I get stopped at the border and I got more than $10,000 of Canadian U.S. money, what do? Which I had a hell of a lot more than that one time. And the Border Patrol guy asked me, he says, how much money you got there? I said, only God knows what's true. Me? I would just be taking a guess. I have no clue what the monetary value is that paper that's sitting in front of you. He said, well, how much money do you have? I said, whatever that paper value is, I have no clue. But I tell you, everything that's sitting in front of you is mine. It is not yours. That is my property. He said, well, how much Canadian or U.S. money do you have? I said, I have no Canadian money. I have no U.S. money. I don't have Bob's money, Bill's money, or Susie's money. All that money you see right there is mine. If I had Canada's money, Bill's money, or Bobby's money, wouldn't it be proper of me to give it back to Billy, Bobby, Canada, or the United States? Wouldn't it be kind of wrong of me to keep Canadian, U.S., Billy, or Bobby's money? All that money is mine. Karl Lentz is my property. That's my property you're witnessing in front of you. So see, like I said, you better know how to play the whole entire game from one end to the other. You better not just come across the border with a wad full of money and say, well, that's more than $10,000. I got to file this form and claim, and if I don't, then they're going to give me all rations of hell, and I'm going to go to jail, and they're going to arrest me and seize my money, da-da-da-da. No, you better know how to talk. You better know how to get it from one end to the other, because that's great. The man actually said to me, he says, how much money do you believe is there? So I knew this man was trained really well. Oh, believe, because the only thing you could hold me for is my convictions. You're waiting for me to convict myself or due to my beliefs. Oh, lovely. What do I believe is there, sir? All I believe is there that's in front of you is my property. What the value is of that, God only knows. What is true, God only knows. But I'm telling you, what you're witnessing in front of me, in front of you, is my property. There's no one else that's going to claim that that's their property but I. So it's a lot of fun dealing with people who actually know the words like will and belief and believe. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had a great border stop. I mean, I always say how wonderful those guys were, because he could have said, you know what, I'm going to ignore that, this guy knows the words and I know the words and he's playing the game masterfully and I'm playing it masterfully. You know what, honestly, I'm just going to break his balls and take all the damn money and arrest him. He could have done that to me. That man certainly could, but he was honorable. And we played the game like two chess masters. It was a lot of fun. And like I said, just like when that sheriff showed up to my sister's house one day and we went around the driveway and he grabbed me by the shoulder and says, God love you. He says, God bless you. I said, I love people who know the law. It makes my job so much easier. I don't want to execute this warrant on your sister. He says, but do you think she could answer this warrant, sometime, because tomorrow if I'm not here and you're not here, what's going to happen? I said, my sister's going to be good. Handed this warrant, she's going to shit a brick, she's going to be tasered, she's going to cry, and it's going to get real ugly. I said, right, you better handle this for your sister while you still can. I said, oh, yeah, I will. I said, I'll get right on it. It's 3:30. I'll have this settled by 5. Trust me, before the sun goes down, it'll be settled. There will be no debt. So like I said, when you know the game, it's a lot of fun. When you don't know the game, your daddy didn't teach you. You didn't listen enough of my calls. It ain't my effing problem.